Hi guys, this is Si from SiNi software. Today I'm going to talk about our proxy plugin for 3D Studio Max. It's called ProxSi. It's a proxy plugin that'll work with many different render engines. It started out as a protection for 3D assets. We worked on a big job where we needed to share assets with different studios, but we didn't want them to just have them all. So we put together this ProxSi that we could password protect, and after a certain date then would expire and the plugin would never render anymore. So it was, and you wouldn't be able to alter the object or export it out or do anything with it. So let's get started. Let me just create a ProxSi and we'll throw our object in it. What this will do is it's evaluating the object now and it's writing it to the max file itself. So there is a little difference in the size. You can see this is 39 without the proxy, and it's 55 with. So now that we've got this made into a proxy, we have a couple of different display modes. So we have logo, pyramid, bounding box, squirrel just for fun. Point cloud. Now our point cloud, the lowest setting is 10 verts and the highest is 3000. So we didn't want to go crazy on verts. So we just grabbed a random 3000 verts, and that's our point cloud. You have half mesh, and this gives you a good idea of what the model looks like, but there's nothing you could really do with it. So it sort of looks like the Vray proxy item when you take it out. And then you have original object. So you can go ahead and render this and work with it, but you can't alter it in any way. So we'll go through a couple of things. We added color variation, and this works on instances of this object. So if you were to, say, instance this stadium out 15 times and you wanted to actually add some color variation in it, you could use about a variation count of 50 different textures is pretty good. You can raise this up, it'll use a little more RAM, or you could lower it down and say you had trees and say 100,000 of these trees all over the place, and you wanted to get a good variation out of the leaves and bark. This would be perfect for that. And you could get away with 50 different variations of trees. You're not going to really notice any more than that, but you can raise it up as much as you want. There also is name filtering in here. So say you were using cars and you wanted to include just the car paint material and nothing else. You don't want to affect the tires or anything like that. You could actually go in here and use a wildcard as well. So if you had car paint blue, car paint red, all these different car paints, you just put car star and add this, and it's only going to affect those textures. Or you could do the same and exclude any textures like that. So you could exclude all your trees that say bark, and then all your leaves would have a nice variation in color. We have a camera clipping and with an expansion. So if you had a whole bunch of cars, this was a big parking lot, and you were using the camera clipping, the ones at the edges you still want to cast shadow and see, you don't want them to completely disappear. So this expansion will expand the clipping part so you don't lose those shadows. Getting to our security part. So if I was to just take this and render this guy out now, and it's gonna think about, I have an HDRI in the background, so it's gonna think about that for a second. There we go. Okay, so this will render out normally, just look perfect for what you needed to get it into your scene. I'm just gonna cancel this a second, and what we'll do is we'll set an expiration date on this now. So we'll set this to, say, last year, and we'll just type in some password and lock this down. Now if I was to go render this, it's not renderable anymore. We've completely taken it, it's essentially an expired object. So you can't view the full mesh anymore. You wouldn't be able to export it out to anything, and it wouldn't render. So it's pretty much a useless object after this, hence the security. So let me just unlock this guy real quick, and I'll expand all these. Oops. So, yeah, that's our proxy item. It's pretty simple. There's not a lot to it, but it is useful. Rendering wise, it's kind of nice. It does render faster than a lot of other proxies because it does not have to load up that external file and read it. It's all in the max file. And then the last thing is the export. So you can export this back out to an original object, and it's quick because it's all that data was stored. So that's our ProxSi. Thanks for watching. Check out our other products at SiNi.com, or sorry, SiNiSoftware.com. And cheers. Have a good one. Bye.